To reflect on the happenings in Parliament with the Communications Portfolio Committee regarding the SABC's board's decision to reappoint Hlaudi Motswaneng, we're joined by Botsang Muilwa. He is a political analyst. Thanks so much, Botsang, for your time. Just in terms of the responses from the board regarding the reappointment, we heard criticism from various sectors that this was procedurally incorrect based on what the Supreme Court of Appeal setting aside his appointment. What do you make out of this? Is there sense in what the board stands for?
Well, good evening, Cindy, and good evening to your viewers. In this instance, I don't think the board is completely wrong if one looks at the decision of the High Court. And we shouldn't look at this as Hlaudi Motswaneng and sensationalize it because of him. We should look at this matter as what the court has decided. We should remember that there was a public protector's investigation which was superseded by a decision of a court of law, even on court papers. And I read that whole document. There's 29 pages. Even Judge Davis had said the case and the matter is not about Hlaudi Motswaneng. It is about the procedural matters of the board, the way the board conducted the appointment of Hlaudi into the COO position. And that was about that. The explanation given to the Portfolio Committee today by the board of the SABC, it holds water regarding the appointment of Hlaudi Motswaneng. But there's been other developments, obviously, despite the appointment of the former COO. Yeah,
there was also criticism from John Self saying that the disciplinary hearing, of which it was a prescript of the Public Protector's report, was a farce in the sense that it was internally conducted by members who are not impartial. Therefore, it is null and void, if you will.
But, well, Cindy, we cannot come at this stage when a court or the public protector has ruled that there must be an internal disciplinary process. There's an employment contract and a relationship between the employer, SABC, and the employee, Hlaudi Motswaneng. Now, if the court rules that there must be an internal disciplinary process that takes place as defined by the law, and it takes place and some people come from outside, whether they are from the opposition or they are from even the ruling party at this stage, and say it was a farce, it was flawed, and it was people with impartial. Why didn't they raise it at that particular point to say, or to ask the court to rule that the disciplinary process should actually be determined by an external mediator or should be taken outside the SABC? They should have done it that time, not after the effect.
Yeah, but aren't we just running hoops in terms of the law and the Jekyll and Hyde scenario that in this case, Hlaudi Motswaneng is the bad guy and the board in effect have erred and they should take the responsibility?
Well, that's my actual view, that Hlaudi has been saying he didn't do anything wrong. And if somebody has done something wrong in this instance, in my view, it's the board. And the board has to take the responsibility of their actions and also convince the Parliament Committee on what they were supposed to do, what they've done wrong. They must take responsibility. That's what the Board of Governors exists for.
Yeah, but there's a lack of confidence in the board of the SABC. We heard resounding voices saying that the board should be dissolved, 2 members resigning publicly, of whom they argue that they weren't even briefed about today's parliamentary committee meeting.
You know, when I heard about that during the day, I was very disturbed. And luckily, I didn't listen to the news. I didn't follow any news regarding this matter. So I'm going to say it out of the impartial position. It is very disturbing. It is very wrong. It's illegal and actually immoral for board members of a state entity to climb into a plane, leave Johannesburg into Cape Town, and they lament in front of the Portfolio Committee, in front of the public, to say, we don't know why we are here. What actually were they going to Cape Town for? If they say they were not part of the decision, the presentation, and the activities within the board, what were they going to do in Cape Town? Are they not members of the board that was supposed to question the chairperson to say, can't you convene a meeting? That's how boards operate, especially in the public service.
Are you suggesting they're grandstanding, and if so, why?
Well, in my view, that was a grandstanding. If they had a problem, I've listened to Mr. Naidu saying, this board is dysfunctional, this board is not acting, or has not been behaving properly and all that. What did he do? When he says this board, he's part of the board. What did he do from the moment he realizes that the SABC board is not conducting itself in a manner that is supposed to? Instead of waiting for the day when they are being called to Parliament, he doesn't even make a submission. He doesn't even question other members of the board. But you know what was interesting for me when I saw some clips going around as I walked in here, it's grandstanding. You must have seen the strategic way the two gentlemen who resigned today, they were sitting together. Mr. Naidu is an attorney. He is supposed to have known, as a lawyer, what a board is supposed to do. That's why he was appointed into that position, because of his qualifications, his legal experience and background. From the time the board has not been performing its duties properly, what did he do as an attorney or as a lawyer in that instance?
Yeah, well, he's not going to take liability now because he's resigned. So effectively, you know, I suppose the bulk of the scrutiny will be left to the remaining board members. So are you of the view that it's unfair to give Hlaudi Motsoeneng the title of a kleptocrat, that he had used the resources of the SABC to the demise of the public broadcaster?
In which sense? Are we talking about his appointment? Are we talking about his legal processes? Or are we talking about
his capacity and competence in this position as corporate affairs head?
Nobody has ever come up in this country. I haven't read a piece of document or heard anybody saying Hlaudi is incompetent in performing his duties. You know, let somebody from the SABC, from staff members, there has been questioning political for his appointment. There has been staff members in an organization, SABC, who have been unhappy with the way he conducted himself or the way he handled, you know, technical affairs like journalism codes and all that. But those are internal issues. None of these people has ever said he's incompetent. None of these people, board members, even the oversight committee, which is the Department of Communication, has ever said he is failing in his duties. In absence of that, we cannot be bringing labor relations issues to deal with political issues in this instance, to deal with personal vendettas and grudges. That will be very unprofessional.
I just want to go back. The Supreme Court of Appeal set aside his appointment as COO, and then he, as Jackson Mthembu calls it, miraculously re-emerges as the group head for corporate affairs, and says that that in itself is flouting the law and literally just discrediting the organization.
Well, again, I wish when politicians go and make public statements, they would read this judgment of the court. The judgment was very clear. The appointment of Hlaudi into the position of corporate affairs, or into the SABC generally, was never in question. It was never questioned. The questioning of Hlaudi came in when he was appointed as the COO. The judge, in appeal, makes a decision and say, we are not questioning your appointment within the SABC. We are questioning you as the COO. Now, the COO EXCO or the executive, the acting GCO decides to say, now that you cannot occupy this position, it must go through normal processes. And in my view, it is in the capacity of the GCO to can appoint these executive members, the CIO, the CFO, the COO. You know, it is within the powers of the group chief executive to can appoint those people. But I also do not think that the acting group CEO of SABC went and appointed Hlaudi in the current position without consultation with other board members or EXCO. I do not think
just moving forward, Hlaudi's mainstay, will this continue in perpetuity? What is the next thing?
Well, unfortunately now the SABC, if you look at public processes, SABC does not have a board effectively. They are left with 4 board members which do not form a quorum at the moment with the resignation of I call it public grandstanding resignation of 2 other board members. So what should happen is the Minister of Communication, in consultation with the Parliament, they have to dissolve the board, appoint a temporary board until a permanent board is appointed. And if the nation can just sit down and realize that this is not about Hlaudi. SABC has problems, has troubles. You know, it has been having everybody's acting there. We don't have permanent positions. And, you know, I made a joke with somebody and said, I think they are in so much acting position, they think they are on stage. You know, nothing is reality there. But the department has to move very fast and very swiftly to appoint professionals, academics, and people who can run that institute as prescribed. That's what should happen.
Botsang, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much. Of course, it continues on social media, Facebook, Twitter. And that's Botsang Moiloa. He's a political analyst reacting to the public, or rather the Portfolio Committee on Communications today in Parliament.